A landlord from Niederhasli turned off the tenant's heating, forged his signature, and then even locked him out of his own apartment. And only thanks to the police was the tenant able to get back into his apartment. The tenant told us that the rental relationship had been difficult from the very beginning. He said that at the time he urgently needed an apartment, but even during the viewing he didn't really have a good feeling about it. But the landlord specifically looks for people in emergency situations. In the first winter they lived in this apartment, the heating broke down right away. At times it was just 8.5 degrees in the apartment. The tenant tried to complain, but to no avail. Sometimes the landlord was abroad for a long time, and sometimes simply untraceable. And the following year, the exact same story repeats itself, and shortly after, he gives notice. But then things get really extreme. The landlord finds a new tenant, and the tenant is supposed to move out of the apartment within 3 days. At that point, however, he was almost 3 weeks late with his rent payment for personal reasons. Then the tenant had to go on a business trip, and during that time, he received a text message saying that his apartment locks had been changed. He immediately files a complaint for coercion and trespassing. Thanks to the police, he is eventually able to get back into his apartment, retrieve documents, his glasses, and his wallet, and then moves into a hotel. Today, 2 months later, the tenant has a permanent place to live again. But he still hasn't gotten back all his belongings, medications, clothes, furniture, and parts of his documents. The landlord will only return them once the tenant pays the outstanding rent. But out of principle, he refuses to do so as long as the legal dispute is ongoing. And on top of that, the landlord has also closed out his rental deposit account. The tenant says he never signed anything and that the landlord forged his signature. We tried to contact the landlord, but he doesn't want to comment on the matter and writes that our emails have been forwarded to the police. He wishes us a good life and tells us not to contact him anymore. For the full story, it's best to go to blick.ch and yes, follow us.